An American woman's tale of love and transformation in South India begins in a secluded village where the soft azure morning light filters through palm fronds, revealing a world wrapped in mystique, full of unfamiliar landscapes and secret truths. A renowned classical dancer from America, past 50 and taking early retirement, chose South India as her new horizon. There, a completely unexpected door opened for her: the Naya people. They appeared simple and peaceful at first, yet revealed to her a culture woven through with remnants of patriarchy and dowry traditions. Like a dream remembered. In this cultural tapestry, a fateful meeting with two brothers slowly took shape. The elder was steady, dependable, and strong in his responsibilities. The younger, sensitive, gentle, and warm-hearted. Their kindness and gentle presence awakened feelings in the woman that she had thought long forgotten. The village's tradition of polyandry, unfamiliar and surprising, mixed with the exotic environment to offer her both challenges and unexpected perspectives, drawing her into a world she never imagined. In this village, her journey and choices rekindled a love she had buried in her youth, hinting at a twist of fate waiting to unfold, an adventure beyond her own limits, intertwined with deep, passionate emotions. On her flight to South India, she felt a mix of excitement and unease. In her younger years, she had toured widely with her dance company. But years of marriage, raising children, and then living alone had left a persistent emptiness in one corner of her heart. The decision to retire early and travel the world alone became her new spark for life. She had read that South India held for travelers a perfect balance of mystery and romance. She believed this and got her passport stamped for entry. From the aeroplane window, the Indian subcontinent appeared even more mysterious and majestic under ochre-colored clouds. Upon arrival, South India's distinct aromas and heat greeted her with enthusiasm. The unmistakable scent of spices, the endless honking of traffic, and the vivid colors of saris and traditional outfits filled her with a rush of exhilaration, like a child about to explore a new world. Her destination, a remote village, was still far off. Step by step, she arranged her lodgings and collected local information. Detailed guides about Naya villages were hard to come by, so she pieced together her plan from fragmented websites and stories told by locals. She was shocked to learn that in some patriarchal areas, a daughter's birth brought a heavy financial burden due to dowry customs, sometimes even endangering infant girls' lives. But she believed that only by going there herself could she truly understand. From the city, she took a long-distance bus to a small rural station, then transferred to a jeep, bumping along winding, rugged dirt roads. Palm trees lined the way, and melodious birdsong filled the air. Villagers peered out from their modest homes, their faces full of curious welcome rather than suspicion or fatigue. They seemed surprised to see a foreign woman, but responded with soft, kind eyes and gentle smiles, giving her a sense of peace that soothed her weary heart. After a long journey, she finally reached the Naya village. Here, only dusty dirt roads and humble thatched huts remained. Modern structures were nearly absent. A huge tree stood in the village center, as if holding echoes of some ancient ritual. Children observed her with bright, curious eyes, while the adults, seemingly indifferent, never truly took their eyes off her. Despite the language barrier, the warmth of these strangers somehow eased her travel fatigue. The villagers were curious about who she was and why she had come, yet showed no hostility. Instead, they treated her as if she were a long-awaited visitor. And perhaps especially because she was a woman, their interest seemed even stronger. She tried to respond to their warmth as best she could, offering small gifts she had prepared in advance for the children. At first, they approached with caution, but soon broke into radiant smiles, and the adults expressed their thanks with shy grins. Among the gifts were tiny, handmade wooden animals and decorative pins from America, which the children especially loved. Her choice to stay in this village came from a desire to see authentic life firsthand, to witness places that lacked even the most basic comforts. Luckily, through an online volunteer group, she connected with a family experienced in hosting visitors and stayed with them while helping however she could. She also shared a few simple classical dance steps with the children. Though they couldn't understand her words, they laughed and found joy in her movements as she slowly blended into local life and observed the villagers' routines. She gained opportunities to learn about their culture. Looking more deeply, she was shocked by the clear gender imbalance. Many men filled the streets, while there were remarkably few women. Among the children too, she noticed this same imbalance, stirring her curiosity and sense of purpose. She only saw boys, rarely any girls in this village. Men's voices were always louder and more powerful, yet strangely, the presence of women did not seem to be overlooked. On the contrary, the few women seemed to receive special treatment from men. That night she tossed and turned, unable to sleep, her mind plagued. The questions about the village's identity and culture. Why were women so scarce, was it? Truly, as people said, that due to the combined effects of patriarchy and dowry customs, often abandoned or neglected daughters after birth, leading to low infant survival rates. What kind of lives did the women here lead? According to what she heard during the day, the women in the village, being few in number, received special treatment from the men, but at the same time they retained a polyandrous marriage culture. Having several husbands, not everyone accepted this custom, but some families had lived this way for a long time. This was a very unfamiliar concept to her, but she clearly felt that it was possible in this village. She thought it was even more bizarre than any scenario she'd encountered on Stegethi. Next morning, she went out to observe the village, and indeed found it surrounded by more men than she had anticipated. Whenever a woman passed through the village, men would follow her auger to greet her. Women here seemed truly precious. At the same time, she immediately realized this was a very poor place. She noticed the simple houses residents worn clothes in somewhat poor sanitary conditions. In her conversations with villagers, she gained a deeper understanding of the negative impacts of patriarchy. Said that in earlier times, with less external communication, boys were valued more, and the birth of a girl would bring the burden of dowry to the entire family. Consequently, many infant girls were abandoned at birth or not well cared for, leading to low infant survival rates. Now times had changed and people's horizons had broadened. But in this village, old notions had not completely disappeared, so the gender imbalance persisted, and precisely because of this, at some point, polyandry became a solution. A female resident she met while strolling through the village said that in her youth she had strongly resisted this system, but now she said that several husbands would share household chores and respect her on the surface. The structure of one woman being protected by several men might seem strange, but the individuals involved actually felt more secure because so many people were contributing to her, of course. This was not the case for all families, and physical, financial, and emotional difficulties could arise, at least in this village. This possibility had taken root amidst her continuous shock. One day, she met two brothers. The elder brother seemed older, more robust, his eyes full of responsibility and steadfastness. The younger brother exuded a softer rohis, careful and considerate manner of speaking was particularly notable. Both wanted to help her, a foreigner, explore the village using simple English words mixed with some local language. They asked her basic questions, like whether she was traveling and if her stay was comfortable, always maintaining a simple and enthusiastic demeanor. This was a warmth she rarely encountered in her dry city life. The two brothers taught her how to chop wood and make a fire for cooking, how to get food from the nearby vegetable garden, and what traditional foods were primarily eaten in the village. "Do you like this spice?" the younger brother asked. She smiled and said she did so. The brothers immediately limit a spicy soup and traditional bread at first. She was startled by the rich and pungent flavors, but soon fell in love with the fresh tastes and aromas that filled her mouth. The elder brother ground ripe tropical fruit and served it to her as dessert after the meal, while the younger brother gave her a plate and cup carved with traditional patterns. All these moments became strange yet warm memories. She also taught the brothers a few classical dance steps, which they learned diligently despite their less than perfect executions. Spent a lot of time with the two brothers. Sometimes they would go fishing in a nearby valley together, harvest vegetables from the farm, cook together, and share stories by the fire. At night one day, the elder brother told her about his childhood. He said that when he was born, a boy in this village, all family expectations focused on him. Because of this, he had to cultivate his strength and sense of responsibility, and even in poverty, he had to consider how to feed his family. The younger brother said that compared to the enormous expectations placed on his elder brother, he took on more of the meticulous and thoughtful roles behind the scenes. Perhaps that part shaped the younger brother's gentle character and meticulous demeanor. Today, she also candidly shared her own story about her early retirement in her early 50s, and how she hadn't dated since experiencing a passionate love in her youth, about how her life in the city, though affluent, sometimes felt empty, and how she had closed off her heart. The two brothers listened to her story, often showing expressions of surprise when the younger brother asked, "Are you not married?" She replied, "I was married before, but we separated for various reasons, and I've lived alone since." The elder brother nodded silently and said, "It's not common in our village, but it's different here." Before that, she didn't precisely know what different meant, but the longer she stayed in this village, the more she gradually faced reality. Brother's charm was so distinct that she couldn't even decide which one she preferred. She naturally developed an admiration for their purity and kindness. However, she hadn't seriously considered anything further, believing it to be merely a traveler's fleeting emotion. But to brothers slowly developed special feelings for her on the day of the village festival. During a night of traditional music and dance, the two brothers positioned her in the center and guarded her, never leaving her sides. If protecting her, they watched her slightly clumsy, yet happy demeanor with great satisfaction. Long after the festival, deep into the night, she sat with the two of them under stars, drinking tea. The cool night breeze dispelled the heat of the festival, and the village was immersed in tranquility. Under the starlight, the elder brother slowly began, "You know how precious women are in this village, right?" When she nodded, the younger brother added, "We have always lived like men, competing with each other, but the real competition is actually to win a woman." Brothers sometimes have conflicts, but we also cherish and care for each other. That's our culture. Curiosity arose, and she asked, "So what happens if two men like one woman at the same time?" The elder brother hesitated, then honestly replied, "If they both simply fall in love with that woman, they might seriously consider marriage. Not everyone does this, but some families in your village have lived this way for a long time, so we don't find it particularly strange. We naturally accept it." The younger brother smiled quietly and added to his brother's words, "It might be strange to outsiders, but here we have a gender imbalance, and most importantly, We have a culture of trust and reliance, so it's possible she felt a sense of bewilderment. But also felt that his words were not false indeed. What she saw while walking around the village was that the number of men far exceeded women. Women were and they helped each other, so it was understandable, but she never thought she would face such a situation herself. Until then, she was just a tourist, observing interesting village culture. A few days later, she was in the kitchen, preparing food with the younger brother. The elder brother was outside, preparing the meat he had hunted, while the younger brother was making traditional bread with grain, flour, and spices. As she watched them, she thought to herself, if these two men fall in love with one woman, that woman might be truly happy. The strong elder brother handled outdoor work, while the meticulous younger brother helped with housework. It felt like they were optimizing each other's strengths and complementing each other. One day the two brothers approached her together. Unlike usual, both looked serious, and after an awkward silence, the elder brothers spoke first. We truly like you. No outsider who has come to this village has spent so much time with us so deeply. We are very happy with you, so we want to ask you to marry us. She was very embarrassed and speechless. Then's younger brother also confessed his feelings in a trembling voice. My thoughts are the same as my brother's. I feel you are very precious. Will you become our partner now, instead of just our friend? After being proposed to, her heart pounded and her lips became dry. She licked them both, but she had never thought of hearing the word marriage, and she had never heard of marrying both of them at the same time. Her pupils trembled slightly, and the two brothers waited anxiously for her response. The villagers watched this scene, whispering amongst themselves, as if it were both strange and interesting. Some said it was natural, and marrying both would be good, while others worried she would feel burdened as she was an outsider. That night, she almost stayed awake all night at home. Her mind was in chaos. Not just falling in love with one person, but marrying two for her, living in a completely different culture. It was such a shocking proposal. However, the two brothers genuinely liked her, and in this village, living this way was not unnatural. Of course, she didn't know how it was legally or institutionally organized, but incredibly and truly it was an acceptable form within community norms. Several scenarios unfolded in her mind. Could all of this just be a fleeting exotic fantasy during a tourist day? It might be an interesting and romantic situation, but marriage means a major life decision. Moreover, she was already in her mid-age and had experienced a failed marriage. If she were to start love anew, didn't know if it would be feasible here. She kept questioning herself, but on the other hand, deep down, there was also a contradiction. She didn't want to miss the genuine care and love she felt from these two men. Finally, the next day, she sought advice from an elderly woman she encountered while walking in the village. Perhaps because she could translate a little, the old woman understood her situation and calmly said, girls are scarce here, which is why it's possible for several men to protect one woman and form a family. Not all women do this, but in some case, brothers or friends form a family this way. It might be strange for you, but Hiru can live together peacefully like this. If I accept the proposal, these two women will do their best to do everything I want. Of course, there will be small disputes or emotional problems everywhere, but basically protecting the woman and children together is an important responsibility, is an ancient way of life in our village. After hearing this story, she felt confused, but also strangely convinced. If she decided to spend the rest of her life here and choose to marry, they would surely make her life happy. And if a child was born, it would be a great blessing to this tribe. Especially if it was a daughter, then the entire community would be delighted. Just thinking about this made her heart burn, but at the same time, the question of whether she was truly ready to live this way did not leave. She decided to have a calm talk with the Trois brothers. She handed them the gifts she had prepared, drank the traditional tea made by the villagers, and had a sincere conversation. Do you truly believe I can marry both of you at the same time? Don't you need Tarchus? One person, when she asked this, the elder brother, with a serious expression, said, You don't need to choose. We know that as brothers, we both like you. And rather than giving up one side, we thought of a way for us to make you happy together. The younger brother also emphasized, Our tribe has lived this way for a long time, of course. It's a unique culture. So it's hard for everyone to understand, but we are sincere. We want to cherish and value it. She felt surprised and excited, and her heart trembled inexplicably. It was hard to predict whether these feelings, which she had not felt since her youth, were correct, and what formed this love would take. However, during her stay in the village, she had seen Thessalflos' attitudes and thoughtfulness of the two brothers. There seemed no reason to doubt their sincerity. The villagers also encouraged her, saying she would be happy with both of them. Perhaps it was because she was a stranger from outside, but also because of her good character and some means. They also judge that if she settled in this village, it would be beneficial to the community. She finally made her decision. All right. I will try to love both of you. We want to experience what it means to live together. Hearing these words, the faces of the Trois brothers filled with uncontrollable excitement. The elder brother smiled with all his might and promised, I will go hunting, so our table will be abundant. You can live a life without any more inconveniences. The younger brother swore, I will take care of farming and housework. I will decorate the house brightly and beautifully, and I will prepare everything you need. And so, with the blessings of the villagers, she married both of them. There were no lavish gowns or wedding halls, but there was a traditional blessing ceremony and a welcoming party involving the entire village. She wore a traditional sari adorned with fresh flowers, smiling quietly, holding a bouquet of white flowers. The two brothers wore traditional attire that showcased their personalities and held her hand tightly. In the middle, many people danced and sang to celebrate the wedding. And even though it was a poor village, they did not hesitate to bring out food to share. She also performed a short classical dance piece to bless their newlyweds after marriage. As time passed, she had truly new and unfamiliar experiences in her daily life. The elder brother would be responsible for hunting tools and axes before sunrise, then go to distant places or participate in cooperative lodge work to procure food. The younger brother would start taking care of the vegetable garden from dawn, cook and manage household chores. But what was interesting was that both of them were consistently kind to her, and the way they lived together every day, nagging each other, was not awkward at all. On the contrary, if she said, I hope you can fix that, the elder brother would say, I'll go right now. Or the younger brother would actively step forward and say, I'll do it right away. And they would try to do the work first. She even found the brother's eagerness to compete. Tonsha. She had everything she needed. Quite endearing. The villagers often said, the presence of women in the tribe is sacred and precious, so we must first do whatever she wants. As they said, the Trois brothers never forgot to respect and be considerate of her, in particular when she felt unwell one day and couldn't move from bed. The elder brother went to find medicinal herbs and brewed tea for her, while the younger brother started making her favorite food from dawn. Thaka from these two men made her rediscover that warm feeling of being valued by someone, a feeling she had forgotten for decades. Then something amazing happened. One day she felt dizzy and unwell, so she did a simple test and found out she was pregnant. An unexpected pregnancy at nearly 50 years old was an incredible surprise. The two brothers and the entire village could not hide their joy upon hearing the news. In a place where women were particularly Scarce the birth of Ochild was itself a grand celebration and blessing, especially if it was more likely to be a daughter. It would be an even greater celebration for the village Eitin passed, and she finally gave birth to a daughter, all the villagers. Cheerdand, a small festival was held, with each household preparing food and taking turns, hosting parties. The phrase, "this child is the hope of this village," washed everywhere the women of this village who struggled due to their birth circumstances or childhood scars. Now, with the arrival of a new generation, little by little dreamed of different paths. With the help and care of her Twasbans, she recovered physically and gradually began to invest her funds into the village to alleviate poverty. Of course, she couldn't change everything at once, but little by little change was coming. The two husbands worked even harder at farming and hunting, and began to sell local products and handicrafts to outsiders who came to the village. She also managed to leverage various connections to distribute traditional crafts and special products produced in the village to cities. The villagers gradually became more open to outsiders, and young children welcomed female visitors and participated in the positive changes here. As time went on, money began to circulate in the village little by little, and initiatives to improve sanitation facilities and educational infrastructure emerged, though still insufficient. Before a school was built in the village, and some residents created a temporary classroom to teach the children. She brought textbooks, she asserted, in the city to teach English and basic math, while residents took turns teaching guns, imparting traditional history and customs to the children. In particular, girls, including her daughter, were able to access a broader world through this class. She believed that even just gradually alleviating the gender imbalance, one girl would become a precious seed. On the other hand, conflicts also existed in the marriage. In the polyandrous relationship, Fielder and younger brothers sometimes felt jealousy or misunderstanding. For example, if she only confided her worries to the elder brother, or if the younger brother was too focused on housework and lacked time to talk with her, small quarrels would arise. However, three of them resolved conflicts by talking together and striving to respect each other's positions. Ultimately, their efforts and sincere love became immense support, and the three of them were able to establish a stable family under one roof. The child also grew up in this family. At first, outsiders would ask which one was the biological father, but in the village, such questions were considered menaces. They would naturally answer that both were fathers and both cared for the child with love and responsibility. When the child took her first steps, the elder brother held her hand tightly while the younger brother gently read or told stories. She watched this scene, that this too was possible, and realized that there truly could be various forms of love and family. Enthralled, time passed. Nearly 10 years had gone by since she settled in this village. Her life in the South Indian countryside, which she had never dared to dream of for, now gave her immense happiness and a sense of accomplishment. Elder and younger brothers remained as consistent as on the day they first met her, and the villagers' living standards gradually improved through communication with the outside world. An elder, like a village chief, visited Herondale and said, "Thank you very much. Since you came to our village, many things have changed, and people's mindsets have changed. We have learned the importance of protecting women and the power of opening our doors to welcome outsiders and embrace new cultures. Thanks to you, we have hope of escaping poverty," she replied. "This place is also a new hope for me. I have been able to feel the love and warmth I had long forgotten, and I have new responsibilities and goals in my life." While living such a stable life, an external scholar came to the village, saying he wanted to study its unique Polian dress culture and its transformed appearance. She carefully told her story, and the scholar expressed deep admiration and curiosity. This form may not apply to all societies, but it is undoubtedly a valuable case as a cultural diversity that should be respected most. Importantly, it's impressive that in this village, the oppression imposed on women has transformed into a system centered on women, he said. She also nodded and said, of course it not. Everything is perfect, but this place seems to have found its own answer to solving problems. Shova. A faint thought lingered in her mind. If I hadn't come to this village, these two brothers have met another woman, or lived alone, and what would the future of this village have been like? But since there is no if in life, she decided to focus on the happiness of the present in this place with her two husbands, a lovely daughter, and a gradually developing village community. That heart, which had been closed by a hardship in her youth, blossomed again here today. The elder brother went hunting. The younger brother was busy in the fields and at home, and the child returned joyfully from playing with companions in the river. She sat under the shade of a tree, smiling, recalling the first time she came to this villaggio. Much has happened, hasn't it? I found love again here, and formed a new family, and I brought new change to this village. Life often flows in unpredictable ways, but sometimes the happiness found on that path is precisely the power that keeps one alive. Life doesn't always go to plan. No matter how well we prepare, surprises always unfold along the paths. We haven't yet walked filled with infinite possibilities, so when we encounter unfamiliar cultures, perhaps what we need most is an attitude of understanding and respect. Rather than judgment and criticism, it is precisely in those places that transcend one's familiar values that undiscovered precious relationships and knowledge lie hidden. This story shows a paradox, how polyandry, stemming from a negative cultural background of patriarchy, can function in a way that offers women respect and support, while difficult to idealize way of forming families within their own society. Aiming for peace and cooperation breaks modern stereotypes, and the woman's decision to personally step into it, accept this unfamiliar form of love, and even marry tells us that important life decisions must ultimately be made by oneself. Ultimately, the lesson we can learn is that cultural differences may lead to conflict and collision, but they can also open up new possibilities. Possibilities can be encountered anywhere, anytime, for those with prepared minds and open horizons. Life bestows a very special gift at the most unexpected moments. A few days ago, she opened a small cafe near the central well in the village. This space, selling coffee, tea, and simple snacks, has now become a place where not only residents, but also outsiders can relax and rest. She also hung some classical dance stills and posters in the cafe. Many tourists, the elder brother went out more frequently to Finwandi new hunting grounds, but upon hearing about the cafe's opening, he would stop by on his free days to supply game. The younger brother spent a lot of time helping with the cafe's interior decoration and operation. The walls were adorned with photos of her city life memories, as well as moments of her life in the village with the brother Savirdian, who saw these photos, smiled, and said they looked unique and happy. Now communication with people outside the village has also become active, with external news coming through the cafe, combined with the village's active desire for change. Both the educational invention and living standards are improving. Her daughter, playing innocently, often visits the cafe and greets guests with a bright smile. The elder and younger brothers still cherish her in their own ways, and she equally shares her love, with both of them cherishing her time in this village. One day, as the three of them watched the sunset in front of the cafe with their daughter, they made another decision to fully root themselves here and share the warmth and uniqueness of this village with more people, and to support and let each other, showing hope and new options to future generations who will come. This was a small vow, the most sincere return for the second chance at life. she received in this village, and the poato unfold, the story that would continue to unfold in the futurato, better integrate into local life. She began to learn the local language and culture. She discovered that the Nai people had a long history and many unique traditions and customs. She also started learning to cook local food and gradually grew fond of these spicy and delicious dishes. She also learned weaving and embroidery with the local women and embroidered exquisite patterns on her own clothes. As time passed, her feelings for the two brothers grew deeper. They respected, understood, and supported each other. She grew to the polyandrous way of life and discovered its beauty. She felt very happy and secure with the care and love of two husbands. She also learned how to balance and manage their relationships, avoiding jealousy and quarrels. Their daughter grew up healthy and happy in this loving family. She received a multicultural education from a young age, learning both American and Indian traditional cultures. She learned 12 languages and had a strong interest in different cultures. She also learned how to respect and understand different people and how to live in this diverse world. To enable more children to receive education, she and the two brothers raised funds to build a school in the village. She personally served as the school principal and hired some excellent teachers to teach children knowledge and skills. She hoped that children could change their destinies through education and contribute to the village's development. The story gradually spread, attracting more and more tourists to the villages. Were very curious about this unique polyandrous family and this hopeful village, and the two brothers warmly welcomed tourists and introduced them to the village's culture and history. The development of tourism brought more income to the village and improved the village's living standards. Years later, she was recognized as Person of the Year for Moving India. At the awards ceremony, she spoke emotionally. "I came from America, but I found my home here. I thank the people of this village for accepting me and giving me a second chance at life. I hope my story can inspire more people to embrace different cultures and pursue their own happiness." Her story became a legend, widely celebrated. She proved through her actions that love and happiness can cross cultures and borders. She also changed the destiny of this village, making this poor village more prosperous and hopeful. She became the hero of this village, remembered forever by its people. In her later years, she still loved this village, loved her husbands and daughter. She often sat in front of the cave watching the sunset, feeling happiness and contentment. She knew her life had no regrets, for she had found true love and belonging here. She eventually passed away peacefully, leaving behind her wonderful life story. Her daughter inherited her wishes and continued to contribute to the village's development. She and her husbands will always be remembered, for they created a home full of hope and happiness with their love and courage. This story tells us that love can change everything, cross cultures and borders, and create miracles. Long as we bravely pursue our own happiness and treat others with love, we can create a better world.